Hello and welcome to this video. And on this video I'm going to be telling you who are the 10 worst rock singers in history. What do I mean by rock singers? I mean singers who sing rock music, heavy rock, heavy metal, all those types of singers, mainly heavy rock. Because when I was a kid, what we called heavy metal was basically heavy rock. And the music, I loved it, and I've always loved it, and I will love it till the day I die. But when I played it to my friends, it wasn't the heavy guitar or fast guitar solo or pounding drums or any of that they didn't like. It was often the singer. There was too much of a or too much of a or too much of it going on in their vocals for the normal person in the street to cope with. They couldn't see past it, or at least listen past it. They weren't that type. They were too shallow. They weren't willing to reach beyond these awful singers to the depth and juice that was in the music. And I've always been aware of this. Some of these singers here are from my favourite bands, and I love these bands. And I don't want to go through and criticise these singers, but I feel it should at least be stated here that their voices do, like fingers on a chalkboard. And for all these years, I've been trying to ignore the fact that it's there. And so here I am going to state for the record the 10 rock singers that I don't like. I feel bad doing this. I feel like I'm no, you don't, Andy. I feel like I'm being a traitor to the rock. You know, they're snotty nose up their own arse music critics who love bloody Neil Young and Patti Smith and Lou Reed and Nick Cave. You know those types. They don't like any of this stuff, you see. And they'll be championing what I'm saying, and I don't want to be on their side. Not those sort of liberal, soft hands, soft shoulders types who believe by championing something like Neil Young that then they can come across as some sort of James Dean character. And often it's because some of the testosterone that is contained within these singers, they can't quite deal with, if you know what I'm saying. Well, the fact is, I respect that in them. And so I will be bringing that up if I feel that the testosterone that we have is balancing the horrible voice. But maybe a true man should always sing in a terrible voice. Maybe it's a sign of a true man. There's a lot to learn on this video, so shall we knuckle down and see what we could learn? You learn, not so much me learn, me tell you about the facts of the world. How about that? Is that all right? You don't mind that dynamic going on? Okay, then sit down, make yourself comfortable, and we will start at number 10. And at number 10, I have the frizzy-haired, leather waistcoat wearing Klaus Meine from the Scorpions. Yeah! Now the Scorpions, right, are a seminal heavy rock band. They're one of those heavy rock bands in the mid to late 70s that lay the groundwork for heavy metal. Scorpions were very important in sort of creating, with Uli John Roth, that sort of neoclassical sound, that sort of harmonic minor sound. But they could also rock with the best of them. Very chunky, a lovely dual crunchy sound to the Scorpions. I always liked them very much. Great instrumentalists in that band. Dodgy covers, I have to say. You know, there's a few dodgy covers in there with the old Scorpions. But of course, they are German, so they probably don't quite understand, our more refined ways in the West. You know, they tend to be more brutal and less politically correct, I'm not even going to try and crack any jokes about the album Virgin Killer and the cover of it. I think it's best less pretending like the music world does that never actually happened. Shall we just carry on like that and focus on something that's probably a little bit safer to poke fun at? And that is the vocal quality of Klaus Meine, which is throaty and plummy at the same time. So this is the only way I could criticise these, is by coming up with some sort of criteria and metrics for you to be able to understand what I'm saying. So By plummy, I mean this. Plummy, very plummy, plum. That's what I mean by plummy, right? Throaty is like this. Bonnie Tyler, Rod Stewart. Now, if you imagine combining, these are two, a little bit less attractive when it comes to rock singing. I'd rather have throaty than plummy. Plummy is always something I don't like. With Klaus Meine, he manages to combine the two. So imagine you've got some plumminess. And you get that squealing pig sound, which Klaus Meine, it's somewhere in that range. And he's, and of course, added into that, that English is not his first language, isn't it? So he's singing in English lyrics and he's trying to come across all rock and roll, but he's got a slight German accent, hasn't it? So it's a little bit like, that sounds like this. I don't do accents, Andy. What are you trying to do? I wish I could mimic. That is my Achilles heel. I think that I'm some sort of comedian that could come up with bloody voices like bloody Jim Carrey or something. And you can't, Andy. All you can use is your British descriptive talents, which of course every Englishman has. And so I might leave it there, but I wish I could sort of get across, but the thing is, to do this, the only way I could do this is by singing a Scorpion song. And I have to be honest, I can only recall two at the moment. One will be Make It Real. Make it real, fantasy, that one. And the other one is The Zoo. And I don't think The Zoo has a reasonable enough melody, does it, to really, and that's why he's right down at the bottom at number 10, because I don't really care about him that much, but I thought I'd bring him up. Shall we move on to number 9 now? At number 9, I've got, and I hate to say this, because he's a great guy, great bass player, and a great singer, I believe, it's Glenn Hughes.
There's one thing I'd like to say.
Now, Glenn Hughes can sing. He can sing, right? I'm not denying it, and he's got a very pleasant voice, so why have you put him on the list? I've put him on the list for one thing, and it's the squeal. Right? When Robert Plant came out and he was singing up really high, there was a whole vast array of men that realised that they could perhaps raise their cachet with the ladies by standing on stage, showing off their chest and wearing very tight trousers that had some sort of device crammed down the front of to emulate the real goods that Robert had down the front of his. The actual real stuff. That's what Robert had got. He didn't have to stuff anything down, but I'll tell you something, there was a lot of singers that did start stuffing stuff down after they saw Robert. And also, Robert could also sing very high. Now, squealing is not the same as singing high. Now, my voice is very croaky today. You might have noticed that. That is not singing high, right? And I feel like a couple of singers in a certain band called Deep Purple had a tendency to go down this route. And Glenn Hughes was that. When Glenn Hughes joined Deep Purple, it had all come through me. You just loved it. You could tell it's like, what was this phrase I was going to say? I can't remember. Anyway, he'd won the top prize, okay? He got Coverdale up front singing. He could do his excellent bass playing, and he's a very funky bass player. But he saw a chance to put on very tight white trousers, maybe a white jacket, stand on stage with his huge long mane of hair. I mean, an incredible mane of hair, which with our modern eyes looks like it does need the sort of Vidal Sassoon hot oil treatment. But of course, in the 1970s, a bit of frizz drove the ladies wild. And Glenn Hughes saw his his chance here. And whilst Coverdale sang in a big-hearted, soulful voice, and Coverdale ain't going to be on the list because I love his voice, Glenn Hughes added a much more softer, mid-range harmonies. Great. He'd even sing some songs every now and he was great. But as soon as they got on stage and he saw all those ladies lined up in front of it, what overcame him? The desire to impress them with his high notes. And this pathetic squeal continually emerges. And sometimes he does it on the record as well. A pathetic squeal with this strained vibrato. You know, the sort of high note that nobody with, you know, large marriage equipment down below would actually be able to produce. And so Glenn Hughes, for me, great as he is, ruined a few Deep Purple albums for me, to be honest. And I have to say, as he's got older, and you can see, he's 80 years old now, and he's trying to hold on to the rock look. It's incredible how he's been able to maintain that rock look into old age. You can see the hair, the sunglasses, the white teeth, the clothes, the tight trousers. And then when you zone in on the face, underneath all that tan and glasses, you could see this little shriveled prune. But luckily, with most men, you know, the fact that our ears and noses get bigger whilst the old marriage department gets smaller, our voices also get lower. And I think this has helped Glenn, who on his last album did some beautiful singing. So Glenn, I don't want to have a go at you in the way I have if you're watching it. And I'm sure you are watching it. But if you are, you know, watching it, then all I want to say is... oh, hang on. Sorry about this. Phone's ringing. I bet it's bloody Glenn, isn't it? Hello? Hello, Glenn. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I could feel it in my water. I just went a bit too far with all the prune bit and the glasses and saying you've got a small penis and all that bit. I knew I'd gone too far. Yeah, I do apologize. Yeah, you get it, don't you? Yeah, I just want the views. Yeah, just want the views. Yeah, I've got some. Yeah, Gillan's up higher. Yeah, of course he's on the list. Yeah, I know. I think Purple was better once you and David got in. I think they're actually better. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of Deep Purple, but not the one. I like yours the best. Yeah. But you're all right, mate. Oh, that's good. You haven't taken it badly, have you? No. And you can't do the squeal anymore, so it's irrelevant, isn't it? Yeah, it's academic. That's how I'd describe it, Glenn. Yeah, so you're still out playing all the old tunes, all the Deep Purple tunes like they're yours. Yeah, is that what you're doing? Yeah, that's good. Mistreated, all that. You do Getting Tighter. I love that tune. You sang beautifully. I know. Yeah, I know, Glenn. I know. Here I am, running you down. And in fact, you know, yeah, Getting Tighter is my favourite Deep Purple tune. My favourite one. Yeah, better than Speed King and Bloodsucker. Yeah, it's my favourite one, Glenn, honestly. So, anyway, yeah, you get back to stuff. Yeah, you get back on that sunbed, mate. All right, then, see you soon. Bye-bye. Glenn Hughes, ladies and gentlemen, shall we move on then? So, who have we got next on the list? I don't want to do this one. This is where I feel like a traitor. At number 8, I've got Rob Halford. Now, Rob Halford is the lead singer of Judas Priest, isn't he? He's got a journey in music. When they first came out with Rock and Roller, they were sort of this you know, Led Zeppelin-y type band. He came out with his long blonde hair and his flowing clothes. But he's got quite a weak face for rock, hasn't he, Rob Halford? He's quite a weak face, quite a pudgy little baby face, you know. And I felt that, you know, when you watch the old photos of him or the video at that time, he looks a little bit like Pollyanna, and Pollyanna's not a good look for rock, especially when you're moving towards, you know, the heavier rock, which Judas Priest were very important in doing. And so the mid-70s, perhaps inspired by Rob Halford's love of leather and studs and other things, men. You know, he starts to draw, he's drawing upon that influences, and he goes back to the band and he's like, oh, I think we should just, like, you know, all this gay gear we could wear, like studded leather jackets and maybe studded belts and like an Nazi hat with all studs on, that type of stuff, and like vests and the nipples showing, you know, all that type of thing. And Glenn, KK, what do you think? Are you up for doing it? Bloody brilliant, let's do it then. So suddenly you get this shift, don't you? And he cuts his hair short as well, and he comes out looking, well, the only way to describe it is gay. But of course he was gay, and this was a very powerful thing, I think, for gay rights, the fact that Rob Halford was able to use his sexuality in a way that lines up with heavy metal. Now, of course, he'll say it's got nothing to do with his sexuality, you know, but you don't call it I'm hell-bent for leather, do you? You don't do that, or point of entry, you know, none of this. Now, Rob Halford's voice, technically, is quite astonishing. He has an incredible range, incredible power. It's the only way to describe his voice is penetrating. That's the only way I could describe Rob Halford's voice. It's penetrating, isn't it? Now, if they had their tongue in their cheek, if Rob Halford had his tongue in his cheek, I could probably accept it a little bit more, but I've always felt that Rob Halford's tongue is elsewhere.
My cruising days came to a grinding halt when I was arrested at Venice Beach toilets by a very hot cop, because they always put the hot cops in those places, you know, to attract your attention. And so I can't really cruise anymore, and I love to cruise. Oh God, queen of the cruisers.
And so I found myself in the late 70s listening to Judas Priest. I loved them. United was great. It was like a big football app for heavy metalers. You know, if you imagine all the genres of music as being football teams, I supported heavy metal. And then Judas Priest came out and gave us this chant, United, United, United we stand. Now that voice is great. When he does that, it's great. United will never shall fall. Right, don't mind that voice, but it is lacking a certain dirtiness, I suppose. That's the only way to describe it. But then I checked them out, and I got British Steel, and I listened to Breaking the Law, and I have to be honest, Breaking the Law seemed a little bit like, well, stupid to me. Breaking the law, breaking the law, bam, breaking that. It's all great. Now I'm singing them. He's way better than I remember. Because what is it about him? What's that voice, that penetrated eye voice he does? I knew I would feel bad doing this. I'm gonna pass over Rob Halford. I need someone else. I'm not sorry, Rob. I didn't mean to pick on you. I shouldn't have put you on. I can't do this to him. Who else could I put in there then? I've got to put somebody else in there off the top of my head. I'm not having Rob in. You know, now I'm thinking all of my favourite Judas Priest songs. I love his voice. When he's low, when he's in the low, he's brilliant. But for some reason, he has that thing saying when they bloody Glenn Hughes, they've got to go and sing high to prove that they can do a Robert Plant. Robert Plant stopped doing it, probably because he couldn't, you know. I think by 1973, 1974, you know, Robert did himself a mischief, didn't he, in 73, 74. Something happened. Something dropped and it stabilised in a different place. That's what I think with Robert, and he couldn't get those high notes anymore. But in terms of Rob Halford, he could always hit the high notes. What are you talking about? You need someone else to go in here. What other rock singers don't you like, Andy? And if there were some other ones you didn't like, you put them on there. I can't think of one. Can I come back to that? Will you just let me? He's on there for now, right? But if I can't come up with the bit that I don't like, you should have prepared better for this one. Bloody rubbish. Bloody rubbish. You'll be all right for the next one. Number 7. I've had a go at this guy quite a lot recently. It's just emerged in me. And it's a band I really like, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I do really like them. They're a fun band, party band. A little bit of slap bass and funky drumming, but a bit heavier, you know, quite risque, rude lyrics. You know, party band, fun, makes you laugh, makes you smile. And Kiedis was up front, you know, handsome, pretty actually. You'd say more beautiful than handsome in the old day. Very, very doe-eyed, wasn't he, old Kiedis? Very doe-eyed, no shirt on, you know, the big shorts, rapping in a way that no person should ever rap, you know, real white man, you know, I'm going to have a go at rapping. I'm making the red chili peppy. So he does that, but we don't mind it. We don't mind. It's all a bit of fun. And then that voice that can't quite carry a melody. He's got no vibrato, has he? And he's never quite on the pitch, is he? Hello, hello, let's start crying. He's a bit like that, and I'm having to work because even me, with my terrible singing skills, can pitch better than Anthony Kiedis. But we put up with it. We don't mind that, do we? We don't mind it until he starts to get all maudlin and feel sorry for himself. I'm a millionaire, but I'm a drug addict, and I've had to have sex with all these ladies, and it's made me all traumatized, and I feel bad, and my friend died from drugs, and I'm now under a bridge, you know. Get me the drugs, I'm under a bridge, I feel all sad, I've written a song about it, feel sorry for me. And of course, normal people, they lap this bloody thing up, don't they? I don't wanna be like I did that day, and take me to the place to love. You know, it's all that going on with old Kiedis, isn't it? You know, and it's like, oh, the normal people, oh, we like this, that, I like him now. You know, the bloke with the long hair jumping around with no shirt on, you know that one? Doing all that, you know, like this. I don't ever wanna be, you know, the ridiculous one. Yeah, I like him now, because he seems sensitive and nice with his under the bridgeness, and then that's bloody Red Hot Chili Peppers ruined for the rest of the next 30 years of it. Over 30 years we've had to put up with this. And then his looks have started to go. You know, a pretty men, right? Pretty men, their looks don't hold. Okay? Going back to Rob Halford, he has got round it, the sort of little doe-eyed, you know, not doe-eyed, the little pudgy baby face he's got, you know. As he's got older, you know, that has just sort of disappeared under huge sunglasses and a great big Uncle Albert beard. For those of you who don't know what that is, an Uncle Albert beard is the sort of beard sported by Uncle Albert from Only Fools and Horses. And I can't square it. You're back on the list, Rob, because, right, shave that beard off. Right, shave the beard off, Rob. We don't want it. Okay? And the same goes for you, Kiedis. Shave that stupid Frank Zappa moustache off. Stop dyeing your hair, right? Stop combing it into some weird Hitler style, and stop going out with girls that are barely legal. Barely legal. Kiedis, they call him in the business. Right. Move on now. I don't want to have a go at this guy. But I'm going to. At number 6, I have on my list Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden, Bruce Dickinson.
I like Bruce. Bruce is a true Englishman. He can fly a plane and he can sword fight. Okay? He can regale you with all sorts of tales. You know, if you need to know some facts about, say, Omdurman or maybe the English Civil War, something like that, you go and see old Bruce Dickinson, don't you? Because he's going to know. He's going to know. He took over in Iron Maiden when you would have thought it would break the band. Iron Maiden did an AC/DC, and that, you know, they got rid of Paul Di'Anno in 1980 and went and got Bruce Dickinson in because he could sing more. He got more technique, and he's an incredible technical singer. But for me, Bruce Dickinson personifies that voice. And it's the wide vibrato and the talking. Now, we all know where he's got this from. I ain't going to tell you now. If you don't know, you don't know. But those of you who know who's copied to get rid of it. You know, get this. Right, and I can't stick it. You know, wide vibrato. And then talking. All over the place like that, isn't it? And I have to be honest, I love Iron Maiden, but I love Iron Maiden with Paul Di'Anno because he got attitude. He sounded rock and roll, didn't he? Because he just sneered the whole time. I know he got no vocal, right? It didn't matter. He could have kept sneering, but no, Steve Harris, the boss. Oh, guys, I'm the man. It's my band in the end. Steve Harris, my band, sir. You do what I say, and we're getting rid of old Paul. But why are we getting rid of him? Well, he's just sneering all the time. Well, he can sneer, can't he? We can still write our more complex sort of progressive rock influenced tunes on the next album, can't you? About Satan and all that bit. No, I think we need somebody who's going to have a very wide vibrato and speak some of the lyrics, you know, so really bring a sort of a reality to some of the stuff we want to write. So I'm thinking of getting that Bruce. We can't get Bruce. What, the guy from Samson? Yeah, Bruce. But he's got the first name and the second name's the same. Nobody ever does that. Why have they done that? I know I'm moving towards Australian here, but it's the word Bruce. As soon as I said Bruce, I was off. So, you know, he comes in under the, you know, the provision that he changes his surname to Dickinson back to his actual Dick. Because Bruce he'd made up. He thought that was quite good. Bruce, like Duran, you know, or New York. There's loads of these, isn't there, where you say it twice. You know, and he probably thought, oh, Bruce. So good, they'll say it twice, but it wasn't, was it? That band, Samson. You got Samson on guitar, Paul Samson, but he'd just gone by the name Samson because he liked it biblical, you know, holding the things apart, can't see, had your hair cut off. He liked that. He got Samson. And then you had Thundersticks on drums, didn't you? Thundersticks. That's a bit presumptive. And didn't he go around like some wrestler, bloody with a mask on, old Thundersticks? And wearing gloves. Never trust a drummer who wears gloves. That's what I say. And then Bruce, you know. What was that song that was on Axtac? Earth Mother. Earth Mother, yes, see. I'm going to talk the next bit. You know, I can't quite do any of these bloody this. And then they are good, you see. If you can't emulate them, it means they're good. Right? So Bruce Sprigginson. Oh, well, I don't like his voice. I love those Iron Maiden, Summer in Time, Number of the Beast. He's great. He's great. I shouldn't have put him on. I feel bad. You know, I just remembered that climb up in Run to the Hills. Run to the hills. It shouldn't work, but it does. Why have you done this, Andy? We're getting to something here. This video will have a purpose, you see, because I'm realising by going through this list. To be a true rock fan and not to join the soft-shouldered bloody liberal elite would hate all these singers, and I feel bad for also jumping on them. They can't see the beauty in these awful vocalists. They can't see it. There is a beauty there. There's a beauty. Klaus, Meine and Glenn Hughes and Rob Halford, not so much Kiedis, and Bruce Dickinson. These bloody warbly rock singers, you know, they get on normal, and that's what it is, they get on normal people's nerves, don't it? That's what it is. That's what it is. Metal, if you like metal, it's because the sound of a distorted guitar is the sound of aggression. It's like going to the world around you, to your school teachers, to your boss, to your parents, to your big brother, to all the people around you. And it's not like trying to rebel where you become some sort of, you know, wide-eyed loner, you know, smoking your cigarette with your hair quiffed back. It's not like that. You know you're not fashionable. You know you don't fit in, right? You know you're a nerd, right? You don't care. You don't care because you're in the heavy metal club. And when you put that music on, it's going to get on people's nerves. Nobody wants to listen to screamy vocals. You know what you get nowadays on what the kids listen to? You know what that? Nobody wants to listen to that. But don't knock them, because when they're sat in their bedroom with that bloke screaming away, their parents are sat outside the door going, "Oh, Johnny, I mean, what's going to happen? He's listening to screaming vocals. Maybe he won't become an accountant or a lawyer. He'll probably take drugs and he'll go downhill. And oh my God, what are we going to do?" And then the kids sit inside going, then they open the door and it's like, "Oh, Mum, I feel suicidal. This Bachman masking on this Judas Priest album makes me feel really, really suicidal." Not supposed to talk about these things. And that's the point. You're not supposed to mention this on YouTube, right? And when you can't mention it, when you can't actually turn around and do it because the bloody man has got you by the balls, saying you can't do this and you can't do that. There's only one way to do that, to get them is, the only way to do that in vocal forms is to get a virtuoso but awful sounding singer up front in your band. So that's what this is really about. Now I can get back into it. Of course I'm going to con you. Of course I'm going to make out like I don't like these singers, but I do like them. I do like them, except who I've got at number 5. Stevie Nicks. She just does sound truly awful.
Because you are a chubby woman. You are a chubby woman. And you are a chubby woman, like a big fat sheep. Go back, back, back.
Now she qualifies as a rock singer, doesn't she? She does qualify it. Although, how Fleetwood Mac get the name rock? They're about as rock as the Eagles, which is about as rock as Carpenters, which is about as rock as Barry Manilow. That's the end of the thing. You know, that Fleetwood Mac are there around about the same place as REO Speedwagon. Kevin Cronin. I can't stand his voice, and he's not on the list. That means I can move one away, because Stevie Nicks I've done. I remember every word you said when you said that I love you, said that I love you forever. Now, Kevin Cronin's not a handsome man, is he? He's got a strange look about him, especially in his peak when he's got that sort of 70s Gino Vanelli hairstyle. Nowhere near as magnificent as Gino's. Where are you, Gino? You see, this bloke can sing, right? That's a man. That's a man. You see that there? That's a man. Kevin Cronin is a pathetic version of that look. So there we go. Now, my Uncle Morris, who wasn't really my uncle, he was he used to work at the same place as my dad, but he was a good bloke. But he wasn't rock and roll. He wasn't the stuff of rock and roll, shall we say, my Uncle Morris. But he did teach me to swim. You didn't need to know that fact, but he looked exactly like Kevin Cronin, right? And so when I used to watch REO Speedwagon, apart from being horrified that this was classified as a rock band, right? Who's texted me? Oh, it's all right. Bloody hell, I thought that was Kevin Cronin then. He hasn't got the rock and roll telephone number, has he? I don't want to be talking to him on the phone. You know, hello, is that Kevin? Yeah, it's Kevin. I said that I hate you and I'm gonna hate you forever. Oh, don't hate me, Kevin. Oh, I'm gonna stop from loving you. This is the worst joke in the world, isn't it? Kevin Cronin's rubbish. Stevie Nicks is very similar. It's that sort of pseudo American twangy, we've got one foot in Americana, you know, fast, rapid vibrato, thin, horrible voice. But you see, with Nicks, I've done all this on another video. I don't need to go there, but I had to mention her. You know, the whole internet has got memes about her sounding like a goat. Meh. You know, it's a cheap laugh. I'll always go for the cheap laugh, mind you. Right, Stevie Nicks. Number 1, she sounds like a goat. Number 2 on the list, she looks like a goat. Those things can be worked together. That's your sort of comedy structure for Stevie Nicks, straight in there. Number 3, there is sort of a rock and roll folklore that, because she didn't want her pretty little nose to be affected by the snorting of vast amounts of cocaine, that she used to ask her roadie to get a straw and blow the powdery substance into another orifice. Not the front one, the back one. God, not in there, you fool. So that's number 3 on the list. Number 4, you now get into esoteric Stevie Nicks humour, usually based around the word Nicks, which for me, my mum used that as a sort of abbreviation of the word knickers. Oh, you get on my nicks, she would say. And I could go for that in my family and I'd probably get a smile out of it. The general public, not so much. So nicks, you know, in England we have the word nicks means to steal something from a shop, you know. So you might have a picture, you might put Stevie Nicks in a shop stealing a sausage roll from Greg's. I laugh just picturing it in my head. So yeah, that's it. You know, you've got all the sort of wrist array, haven't you, of chiffon wrist arrays, sort of flapping as she spins round. I like Stevie Nicks really. Right, number 4. This is where it gets good. Right, the number 4, of course. You're going. This is just standard for Andy. If anyone watches this channel and they've seen me before, I guess it's just standard for Andy. I've enjoyed it. Some of the same material, but he's put a few new ideas in. It's all, you know, he's toddling along on this one. Not now, because now we're going to start to become iconoclastic. Because at number 4, I've got Greg Lake. Come on, admit it. He sounds awful. So I like ELP. I love them, in fact. And when they're really good, I really love them. Keith Emerson, I think, is a genius. Really think Keith Emerson was something else. I think that Keith Emerson, I've got my serious voice on now, you see, because you've got through the shite and now you're at this point. So you're going to get a bit serious for people who want to actually have, you know, me utilising my musical taste and knowledge. I do love ELP. When I started this channel, I came out and said, I hate ELP. And as I started to criticise them and go back, I'd listen to it and go, oh my God, I'd forgotten how this good. I just had to listen to them. There's a lot of Hammond organ on there, isn't it? You've got to like Hammond organ. They're not one of these prog bands that utilise the synthesizers sort of early on and pioneer it like Yes or Genesis or whatever. And even though he's got that great big thing with all the wires there, there's a lot of Hammond organ, isn't it? You know, and with the Hammond organ goes a lot of shuffling from Carl Palmer. Now, Carl Palmer's a great drummer, right? Very technical, but I wouldn't say he's one of the great groovers of all time. I wouldn't say that about Carl at all. He always sounds like he's trying to get to the front of the queue as fast as he can. You know, and he comes a bit off like that, you know. Get out of the way. I want to be at the front of this queue, the front of the drummers crew. You know, and you got Steve Gadbert on Purdy. Carl, calm it down, man. It's not about being at the first. It's just about standing in the queue and just, doing your steps and getting there in the end. No, I want to be at the front. I want to be at the front. I want a cup of coffee, some bacon and beans, please, mashed potato, and I want a Swiss roll for pudding. That's what I want. You get out the way, Bernard. Harvey Mason, you get out the way. So he rushes to the front. That's what Carl's like. And then when he gets there, he wants to get some, attention from the people there. So what does he do? Take his shirt off and then ring a bell with his teeth. Ringing your bell with his teeth, that's for people who've got no arms. That's like a disabled skill. I'm not impressed by it when he does it because he's got arms. Now, I know they utilise playing the drums, but I've got to be honest, getting a bloody, rope in your thing and then yanking it like that to just get a bell sound, it's too much effort, really, to be honest, just to get that extra sound in there. God, Carl Palmer, he made some stupid decisions. I'm working on a list, top 10 list, which is going to be ELP's 10 most stupid decisions, because they seem to make stupid decisions. One of them was not having a guitarist, and instead having Greg Lake. I can do them all. I'll play bass, I'll play guitar, and I'll sing. Now he's great. He's a great bass player, and he's a great guitarist. I actually would say he's underrated. Lovely acoustic guitar playing, a very iconic bass playing, then seldom gets mentioned. You know why? Because up front is that horribly, slightly out of tune nasal vocal going through everything, ruining everything. Absolutely ruining it. For me, just ruining it. I did those things in ancient times. Welcome. I mean, that sounds nothing like him. And also, my ears pop doing that. Has that done Greg Lake enough? At number 3, I've got Peter Hammill from Van der Graaf Generator. Now, he's the one Bruce Dickinson copied.
My friend is the bar, and I'm falling. Forgetting the marionette strings are plastic, but I've rehearsed it and so I carry on. Stab me around for happier.
Right? Peter Hammill he's at the top of the list of wide vibrato and speaking the words in a sort of expressionist way. Right? His voice is frilly. And it's frilly and affected, not affected. I'm not saying they put chorus on it in the mix. Affected. It's an affectation with Hammill, right? And I know people love him. Right, I've given up on Van der Graaf Generator. I've got a few of the albums now. I've put them in the car. I've listened and listened and listened. Right? This is why I don't like Van der Graaf Generator. I don't understand what he's singing about, and I can't be arsed sitting there with the lyrics and trying to work out that. I don't need some bloody riddle when I'm listening to a record. I don't want it. 2, the music's boring. They never get out of second gear. When they get out of second gear, they're quite good in a doomy sort of King Crimson-y way, but not as good as King Crimson. And number 3, Peter Hammill's vocals, they wear, don't they? Hamill's, I mean, this is why he's so high up at number 3. Hammill wears. Right? Now, I'll tell you who he sounds like to me. In the 1980s, we were all big fans of Police Academy, weren't we? And there was a whole bunch of characters in there we liked very much. And one of them was this like druggy bloke that had joined the police force. And he was always really off his face, wasn't he? And he'd come on and go, oh, you can sit me a little bit like that, wouldn't he? We gotta shoot the people. That sounds like Peter Hammill to me. Although, with AI now, and that bloke not having the work anymore, because I'm sure he could still do it. I'm sure the actor that did it, that voice, I'm sure he could still do it. I mean, it's not something that you can't do as you get older. I mean, I'm quite old now and I can do the voice. So with AI, it might be an idea to, get a couple of Van der Graaf Generator albums, take Hammill off, drop on that bloke from the Police Academy and just see if anybody notices. Right, at number 2, this is really bad. At number 2, it's this fella. I wish I haven't got any. I normally got a higher voice than this. I'm suffering a little bit with my blocked nose. Right here, well, listen. In the minute, all day places.
We'll be the ones that start to forge a new reality closer to their hearts. The blacksmith and the artists, they like to do a fast. They do it with.
This is so childish. I'm a 57-year-old man singing Closer to the Art, but change it to Closer to the Fart. You know why? Because this video's a big viewer. Closer to the fart. You know. Geddy obviously doesn't suffer with the same wind that I have. You know, I've got problems going on. And, you know, this is coming out. I've got problems right at this end. I've got problems at the other end. It's excessive wind, you know. And it's always dangerous for me to go so high, but not Geddy in the 1970s. He's up there all the time. And he is probably the personification of somebody who wanted to sound like Led Zeppelin, Robert Plant, didn't he? I mean, let's face it, Russia rubbish. There's some band up in Canada playing school halls, doing Led Zepp covers, bit of the Who in there, throw a bit of Who in, but mainly Zeppelin, sound exactly like Zeppelin, and they get a local following, don't they? And they get an album out. Now that album should have disappeared, right? It should be you know, there should be some, you know, nerdy rock YouTuber going, in 1974 an album came out by this Canadian band Rush, and if you're into Led Zeppelin you might like it, very derivative, you know, that's all they should be. But then Neil Peart comes in, doesn't he? The Peart arrives, and he takes Rush, right? He takes that bloody Donald Duck sort of on helium, warbly, unattractive sound in the vocal areas, right? He kicks out that drummer, right, who's only interested in bloody building his muscles up and things like that. That's totally mean, because he couldn't do it because he had diabetes. So he had to leave the band. He goes, don't pick on the diabetics, Andy. That's just terrible, you know. But Neil Peart, you know, basically comes in because he wasn't diabetic, you know. But he had loads of toms. Loads of toms, and he could go whizzing around those toms, and there's nothing a progressive rock fan likes than somebody whittling and whizzing around the toms, especially if they're panned in stereo. They love it. And that magical mix, you know, balanced that, you know, and get Alex Lyson's, you know, chunky open chord, you know, bar chordy type approach. They all loved it. Geddy Lee sounds awful. And number one, I've got Ian Gillan. This is a recent revelation. I love the Gillan band. They were a formative band for me. Mutually Assured Destruction, Laughing in Heaven. I loved all those tunes. Loved them. Future Shock, Magic, Double Trouble. I loved Gillan. That's how I got into Gillan, was from that. Then I went and got the Deep Purple albums. Deep Purple in Rock was the first sort of studio album. Got incredible. He's singing on Child in Time. Incredible. But I have to be honest. Ian Gillan's voice is not attractive to me. It's too clean, right? It's too not quite on pitch a lot of the time. It's too nasally, right? It always sounds like he's trying to get those high notes. Because obviously the high notes are his falsetto, so he's got a good falsetto, but the top of his main voice is not that strong, I don't think. And then his vision as a songwriter and lyricist is absolutely appalling. Most of the songs centre around his conquest of different ladies, and his huge sex drive that he's got that seems to kind of only be satiated by getting out as much as he can with tight trousers and doing the high voice, which in the early 70s brought the ladies in, didn't it? It was like a siren, literally, a rock siren, beaming across various venues across the world, drawing the ladies to Ian Gillan. And my God, did he partake in the ladies, old Ian Gillan? Because he's a handsome man, one of the most handsome frontmen. You can't have it all, Ian. You can't have it all. And what he hadn't got in his not having it all, portfolio was a nice sounding voice and an ability to write reasonable lyrics. I'm horrified continually at how awful Ian Gillan's lyrics are. They're not so bad in the early days. On the first album, he's trying, but later on, it's just awful. And they've come back recently, like the last record they came out, and Ian Gillan's stood there now, 80 years old, looking ever so old, singing better for me because he can't do the high notes, so he's just singing. All right, and it's like just almost like talking to you. I like that more, Ian. But what's the latest song called? I'm a Lazy Sod. I suppose he's honest. He just writes what he thinks, old Gillan, doesn't he? But I don't like his voice. I've got the box set of Deep Purple, been going through all the albums, Machine Head, and I'm wondering why I don't love Machine Head and Fireball and all those albums when I grew up with them, and I really thought I loved Deep Purple. I really do love them. There's things about Deep Purple I absolutely love. But it's not the songs, it's not the songwriting, it's not the singing. It's when they're live and they go off on tangents and sounds like some wild psychedelic, jam band. I love all that. And the riffs, I love it all. And old Richie Blackmore knew this. As soon as he got out, he got Ronnie James Dio in. And once you got Ronnie James Dio and Blackmore together, you get Rainbow Rising. And that outdoes anything that Deep Purple did on album. I'm telling the truth here. I know there's been a lot of comedy, right? Now, Ian Gillan, I have heard stories of Ian through the sort of underground, I can't prove it, but I've been told it he really is a ladies' man. And with incredibly low standards, I've been told. So, if you are an older lady and you still have, a bit of gumption, a bit of get up and go, and you're wondering, where you might be able to get up and go to, I'm wondering whether Ian now at the age of 80 is still, promulgating that sort of lusty demeanour. Because if he is, I'd like to know. So because he'll only be older ladies. There'll be hardly any head ladies watching that. But there's a task for you, older ladies. Go and search Ian Gillan out and see if he's still up for it, because I need to know. If he still is at his age now, I will forgive him of all the awful vocal sounds and terrible lyrics, and every song being about some woman he's, bedded, whether it's one that's got, a living wreck or one that lives in Tokyo or whatever it is, the farmer's daughter, God, how many women are there? And don't think this is all fiction. This is all fact. It's facts, when Ian says these things. He's gone up in my estimation now I've got here. Yeah, let him do what he wants just because he squeaks it, You know why you don't like him, and you had to pad it out, haven't you, on this video because he's number one. But this is what I don't like about him. Made in Japan, greatest live album ever made. Incredible. Sounds amazing, playing's amazing. Right? Is it in the number one slot for me? No. Why? Because it really comes down about 8 points because of this. It's the Gillan radio. Try it again. It's the Ian Gillan record show. Do you get it, Woody Woodpecker? He keeps doing Woody Woodpeckers. Woody Woodpecker's off his head. That's a bannet for younger children now. Today's children can't have Woody Woodpeckers. They think it's taking the mickey out of the people who are a bit cuckoo. Was he a cuckoo? Why have you chosen to say the word cuckoo by going cuckoo? Why have you done that, Andy? I've done now. I'll finish with a little story. I used to go out with this girl, and I went round to see her once, and her mum comes into me, and she goes, "Oh, I'm having a right mental block today." I said, "What's the matter?" She says, "I'm trying to remember this bird, and I can't remember what the name of it is." I said, "What bird is it?" She goes, "The one that's got the one that's got that sound they make." What? She goes, "The one that goes cuckoo, cuckoo. What's the name of the bird?" You know you're dealing with that. You try and do a YouTube, you know on the whole, that's your sort of average mindset of the world. It's all the super talented people at the top that run it all and make sure it's all safe. The rest of you just sit there stupid, you know, being treated like babies by Western capitalism. And then you all sit there hating it. If you like this video, because we're now at the end, you stick a like on it. And if you want to see some more, subscribe. I know it's a very certain thing I do here. These videos are intended to make you laugh and be silly. And I shouldn't have to say this, but I do get stick from it. I am lampooning myself, a middle-aged man with sort of prejudiced views, that likes the rock, that doesn't like, you know, intellectual music, that just want to hear, you know, and he's a certain type of person, you know, that's what I'm lampooning, and I am that person, so I'm lampooning myself. I'm not punching down, right, and I'm not punching up, except when I have a go at these rock stars, I'm punching up them, but I'm punching sideways, right, I'm doing sideways punching, something the Liberals never discussed, sideways punching, not punching down. You know, you could see when I tried to punch down on the old diabetics, I didn't do it, did I? The diabetics, you should be grateful for me not punching down on you diabetics. I bet you're glad about that, aren't you, sat there, all the diabetics at home, just about to inject into your stomach, going, oh, bloody hell, now he's putting me down. And what does he do in his morning? He just gets up and scratches his arse and goes to work. There's me having to bloody inject into my stomach. And he's taking the mickey out of me, punching down his. I bet you couldn't take it, could you? You couldn't take it, old diabetics. If there's any diabetics, put it in the comment how upset you are. But if there are any diabetics that said, you know, I don't really care, you know, if the least of my worries is Andy punching down on me, I'm more bothered about the bloody, well, I've got used to the injections in the stomach now. I would hate that, though. I would hate to do that. But there's a sort of random thought at the end of the video. Right, we're done. Thank you very good. Bye-bye. See you on the next one.